Rev up your engines!
From my experience of any poorly built cars, when people buy them and then they find a problem, then they take it back to the dealership. 90% of the time, the dealership either doesn't fix it or they say, well, there's no problem. They're all like that. You ever run into that? You buy a car yourself. Here's what I tell people to do, because I've had my customers do it. I told them and they said, gee, thanks, Scotty. It really worked out good. You buy a new car and it's got a problem and they say, oh no, they're all like that? Go to another dealer. Road test one. Bring your camcorder or your phone, use that. And if it doesn't make that kind of noise or doesn't shift weird like that one, say, I just road tested one there. It doesn't do it. That's BS. Fix it. Use your head when it comes to dealing with these guys because they'll lie to you all the time. But if you use your head and you show them, hey, this car doesn't do it. It's the same car as the one I bought. How come mine is? If it's under warranty, they'll have to fix it if you've got proof like that. John says, I've been thinking about getting a cheap 2007 Subaru Outback as a second car for $2,000. All right, $2,000 isn't that much for a car. It's a 13-year-old Subaru. They have head gasket problems. They have automatic transmission problems. But that's not much money. If you like the vehicle, before you buy it, find a guy like me, a pro mechanic, take it to him. I charge $100 when I check him out. I would do a block leak test with my machine. If the head gasket's leaking, I'd say don't buy it. I would road test it, feel the tranny, and I would put my fancy $5,000 scan tool and go through the transmission, see if it's got any problems. And if it didn't, I'd say go ahead and buy it. But don't buy it and just drive it around without a mechanic checking it out, because they can be money pits. They can be okay. I've had customers buy them like that, and if I checked it out, sometimes they can drive them 3-4 years and not have a fortune spent on them, but you got to get checked out first. DM17 says, what's the best used convertible? I was looking at a Porsche Boxster. Those things are endless. Money pits. I had a customer buy one and headlights stopped working. And it was bad enough that the stupid headlight switch was like $395. But I got out my computer I'm looking at right now, and I used All Data, which has fantastic information for fixing cars. You ever want to get information, use All Data. You can get DIY stuff for like $30 a year, which is dirt cheap. Mine costs thousands because it does them all, and I'm a professional mechanic. But so I looked it up. I added up what all, including the headlights and the computer that runs the headlights and all the relays and switches and everything. And if you had to replace the whole just headlight system in that stupid Boxster, it was going to be like $5,000 or $6,000 for all those parts just in the headlight system. I mean, they're endless money, but stay away. You want a nice, cute little convertible, get a Mazda Miata. There's zillions of them. They're cheap. They're not race cars. The problem is if you get any kind of a race car convertible, they generally have the heck beat out of them, or they're just crap like the Boxster from the get-go. And unless you buy one new, it can last years and not fall apart. But you buy one for, I don't know, $70,000 and then sell it when it's 5 years old, you'll get like 15 or 20. So you lost $55,000. Do you really want to do that? You get a nice used Mazda Miata for $4 or $5 grand if you look around. Dwight 220 says, Scotty, I'm 17, about to buy my first used car. What do you think about 2012 Honda Civic LX? Those are excellent vehicles. Make sure that, it doesn't have any problems. Pay a mechanic like me to check it out before you buy it. But that can be a very good choice. Now, you're 17. If you know how to drive a standard, I knew how to drive a standard then because I started driving when I was 14, working at my father's gas station, driving around in and out of the bays and around the parking lot and stuff. If you can drive a standard, get a standard. They're much better than the automatics. But if you can't, the automatics can still last. You just don't want to drive like a maniac because you can burn them out. I had a customer who had one and he burned us out. But the standard ones are a lot stronger. Benny Boy 10 says, my car steering wheel slightly shakes around 55 miles an hour. Any causes? The first thing, just put the front tires in the back and the back in the front. If it goes away, it means that the front tires are out of balance. And a lot of times, if it doesn't shake because you put them in the back, you can just leave them there. I do that all the time. I'm cheap. But if you're a fanatic, then you can get the rear tires balanced. Now, if it's not the tire balance, you can have a worn tie rod, ball joint. You want to jack it up, pull, see if you got any wobble in any play. Or, this is a rarity, but it can happen. If everything else is okay, nothing's worn, the tires are fine, they're balanced okay, it could be it's out of alignment. That's a rarity, but every once in a while I get a customer with a car like that. I send it down the street to Cotton Brothers that are my front end guys, and they say, Scotty, you're right, it was out of alignment, we aligned it, and then it shaking went away. But that's the last thing to do, because normally it's just the tires are out of balance. Or if you see them, they're all worn out, buy new tires, because worn out tires are going to make it shake too. Emmett Malau 123. Hey Scotty, what causes alternators to go bad? If they're just cheap junk, you buy a cheap junk rebuilt one made in Mexico, they just are made bad and they wear out too fast. But the normal ones, you got a good one, brand new factory one on your car, eventually they wear out because because they spin and they have bearings on the front and the back. And the bearings eventually will wear out and it'll start rattling and making noise, then you got to replace them. But from my experience, the way that they generally wear out the worst is by poor battery maintenance. Because if you've got a weak battery, say it's sulfated inside, we mechanics have machines to check for that, but you keep driving the car because it does start, then the alternator will charge the battery too much and you'll have problems with it overcharging, and it will eventually burn the alternator out because the alternator has to work too hard. That's why I tell people every year, 2 or 3 years, a mechanic like me, we put our machines on and give us the percentage of wear, and we can say, well, you only got 20%, you might as well change it. Or if we say, you got 65%, you can wait quite some time before it goes out on you, but you'll want to check it because when it gets lower, the alternator has to work harder and it will burn out faster then. Batteries are a lot cheaper than alternators too. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.